Hello there, train fans. Tbone here at Tbone's Trains, continuing on the journey from my 1964 Marx train set oval to some new O-gauge fun. Today, I want to show you repairing the trailing truck on a 1666 locomotive. So here we are with a 1666 that's overall in pretty decent shape. Yes, some paint loss, but the side rails are there and still kind of shiny. A little dirty, not horrible. Certainly seen worse. So some of you will recognize just by the paint which era or which vintage this is. I'm still learning that kind of stuff. But besides missing the motor, because it's over on the other side of the bench, there is one problem, and there it is, right there. The post that supports and anchors the trailing truck is missing. So what to do? Here, from another 1666, a little different vintage, doesn't have the white paint, but there's the post as it should be. With the, looks more like a rivet. It's got some twists in it, so it's binding, but it's not a screw, not a sheet metal screw. But that's what the post should look like. And in fact, I did consider taking this plate off of this one and inserting it, but as I looked into it, I don't want to mess with that. It's fused, glued, and that would be a bigger problem. But I do think I have a solution that we're going to try out, and I'm going to try out, and you get to watch. My solution is a T-nut. These are usually used in furniture, building, or other knockdown, take-apart type wooden applications. And so my thought is I took off the spikes that would normally anchor into the wood, and I ground off one side so that when it rests in place, the hitch will still be able to move. We could grind some of this off if needed, but that's, yeah, so we'll see if we can avoid that work. Now I do have to take off some of this ridge. I've got a couple of marks in there so it can lay flush, but that's going to be my centering point between that raised ridge of plastic and the center hole of the hitch. That'll help me line that up. So I'm planning to just epoxy that right into place, and then use it's an 832 screw, use an 832 screw, and see if that gets me back in business. If it does, I'll put a little black paint on it and be good to go. Dremel tool with a I don't know if it's carbide or diamond cutting bit, but I'm not going to be able to get in there as cleanly as I'd like, I don't think. So let's think about a better way, trying to do no harm as we take away that little bit of ridge. So let's think about that some more. So here we are, the finished piece. I made sure not to get paint on the bottom so that our epoxy can stick to the metal. And I did wind up grinding on both sides, and I'll show you how I want it to stay off of the motor plate as well. So just resting it here for now. But I'm going to just eyeball it between the rib, the plastic rib, and the center line of this rivet. So you can see some previous repair had been tried, might have been plastic or whatever, the white, blue, and whatever. But I wound up using just a hacksaw blade and gently cutting through the rib, and then a nice sharp wood chisel to clean out and flatten out the base of this as much as I could. And so in a moment we'll apply some 5-minute epoxy and rest this puppy in there. I will put either one little square of tape or a little bit of cotton down there, or maybe just some Vaseline in the hole, just to make sure that the epoxy doesn't get up into the threads, because I'm using this screw as a holding tool. The paint's not completely dry yet, but I got anxious. And I hope you can see that. Let's just try zooming in. I hope you can see that I was able to stay, by grinding the other side, I'm off the motor plate completely, and then on the right hand side here, that the hitch plate has room to swing and not contact that at all, and yet I think I still have enough surface to hold the threads pretty close to perpendicular, plumb, and enough surface for the epoxy to grip and hold that into place. So I'm going to let that paint dry a little more, and then we'll get some epoxy ready and see what we can do. And there we are, epoxied into place. I did splooge a little bit of epoxy onto the motor plate, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I've got it pretty well centered. The hitch plate is free to turn and not touching the epoxy, and so I'm just going to let that set and get the rest of the truck and screw ready to go for when that's all set. And here we are, all in place. So I have an 1/2 inch 832 round head screw through the frame of the truck, and then an 832 nut. Now that does two things. The stem of the T-nut was only about 1/4 inch tall, and the original plastic tower was closer to 1/2 inch. So the nut acts as a spacer, but it also is a lock nut to the metal tower, and that lets me have just enough play so that the truck can rotate freely, but it's not going to be too sloppy and too flopping around. So we're going to put the engine back in place, solder on the light wire, and we should be ready to roll. And there she is on the track. Everything's looking okay. Let's give her a test. Looking good. Let's hitch it up to a consist and see what we can do. Okay, there we go. All set up and ready to go. Have the black tape traction tires lubed, cleaned, hooked up to 3 passenger cars on rail number 1. Let's give her a go. Headlight working. Just need some time, but we're running it. Thanks for watching. Let's have some fun with trimmings. See you next time.